Earth issued one warning. The Galactic Empire didn't listen. The stars looked different from the observation deck of the EDF Defiant. Admiral William Carter noticed it every time he stood here. After 30 years in Earth's defense force, he still felt small beneath the vast sea of lights. He placed his weathered hands on the rail and took a deep breath. The calm before the storm. "Admiral, we've detected unusual activity at the edge of the solar system," said Lieutenant Susan Reed as she approached. Her normally steady voice carried a hint of concern. Carter nodded. "Show me." They walked together to the command center, their footsteps echoing through the corridors of Earth's flagship. The Defiant represented humanity's best technology, a marvel of engineering that had taken 15 years to build. Yet Carter knew that in the vastness of space, even their greatest achievements might seem primitive to other civilizations. The command center buzzed with activity. Officers moved with purpose between stations, their faces tense but focused. On the main screen, a cluster of unusual energy signatures pulsed at the edge of Pluto's orbit. "They appeared 20 minutes ago, sir," said Communications Officer Greg Howard. "Nothing like we've ever seen before." "Numbers?" asked Carter. "Over 300 vessels, sir. The smallest ones are about the size of our largest carriers." The room fell silent. Earth had 12 carriers in total. "Are they responding to our signals?" Carter asked. "No, sir, but they're moving toward us. Slowly but with clear intent." Carter stood straight, his mind racing through possible scenarios. He had trained for first contact, but not for first contact with a fleet of this size. The implications were clear. This was not a peaceful exploratory mission. "Alert all Earth Defense Force ships. I want every available vessel ready for deployment within the hour," he ordered. "And get me a direct line to the World Council." As the officers carried out his commands, Carter studied the approaching fleet. Their formation suggested military discipline. The way they moved, their coordination, implied a species that had mastered interstellar travel long ago. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the largest vessel," Reed announced. "On screen," Carter said, adjusting his uniform. The screen flickered before revealing a creature unlike anything Carter had seen before. It stood tall, at least 7 feet, with a hard, chitinous exoskeleton. Multiple eyes blinked independently across its face, and when it spoke, mandibles clicked around a mouth filled with teeth. "Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet," the creature said in perfect English. "I am Admiral Zex Trawl of the Galactic Hegemony. Your world has been noticed by our scouts and deemed suitable for inclusion in our empire." Carter kept his expression neutral. "This is Admiral William Carter of Earth's Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations, but we do not recognize any claim of authority over our planet." The alien's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Your recognition is not required, Admiral Carter. The hegemony has incorporated 10,000 worlds into our collective. Your species will benefit from our protection and guidance." "Earth is not seeking protection or guidance," Carter replied firmly. "We are a sovereign world with our own path. A path that will now merge with ours," Zextral stated. "We have studied your world for some time. Your technology is primitive. Your military capabilities are limited. Resistance would only lead to unnecessary damage to your infrastructure and population." Carter felt a cold anger rising within him. The casual dismissal of humanity reminded him of history lessons, of conquerors who viewed native populations as simple obstacles to overcome. "How long have you been watching us?" he asked. "Long enough to understand your limitations," the alien responded. "We know of your internal conflicts, your resource challenges, your slow progress toward the stars. The hegemony will accelerate your development, under proper supervision, of course." Officer Howard leaned close to Carter and whispered, "Sir, we're detecting energy buildups in their fleet. They're activating weapon systems." Carter gave a slight nod before addressing the alien again. "The people of Earth have fought long and hard for their freedom, Admiral Zextral. We have no interest in becoming anyone's subjects." "It is not a matter of interest, Admiral. It is inevitable." We offer two paths: peaceful integration as a protectorate with minimal oversight, or resistance followed by direct occupation. The outcome is the same, only the cost differs. Carter noticed how the alien spoke. Not with malice, but with the absolute certainty of someone who had never faced real opposition. The hegemony had conquered 10,000 worlds. Why would Earth be any different? How much time do we have to consider these options? Carter asked. Your species has 24 Earth hours to accept our generous terms, Zexatral replied. When we next speak, I expect your world leaders to be present with their declaration of submission. Carter felt the eyes of his crew upon him. In their faces he saw not fear, but resolve. Humans had always been at their best when faced with impossible odds. We will convey your message to Earth's leadership, Carter said carefully. But I must warn you, Admiral Zexatral, humans don't respond well to threats. A warning. Your species amuses me, human. The alien's laughter echoed through the bridge. Your primitive technology and limited numbers make you insignificant. We have conquered 10,000 worlds. Earth issues one warning to your empire, Carter said, his voice steady and clear. Leave our system now. The alien commander's multiple eyes blinked in what might have been surprise before narrowing. You have 24 hours, Admiral. Use them wisely. The transmission ended. Carter turned to his officers who awaited his orders. Contact Earth immediately. Activate Protocol Omega. Protocol Omega, sir? Reed asked, her eyes widening. But that's only meant for exactly this scenario, Carter finished. They believe they know us. They think they understand what we're capable of. He looked back at the screen where the alien fleet loomed. They have no idea what humanity does when backed into a corner. As the Defiant's quantum communications array sent its coded message to Earth, Carter returned to the observation deck. The stars still looked different from up here, but now they carried a new meaning. Among those distant points of light were 10,000 conquered worlds, 10,000 civilizations that had faced the hegemony and fallen. Earth would not be the 10,001st. They had their chance, he whispered to the stars. Below him, throughout the ship and across the solar system, humanity's true defenses began to awaken from their careful disguise. The hegemony would soon learn why Earth had issued only one warning. Earth issued one warning. The Galactic Empire didn't listen. In the hegemony's command vessel, High Commander Velnax received reports of strange energy patterns coming from Earth's orbital installations. The massive ship, nearly 5 miles long, dwarfed anything humans had ever built. Its central command chamber hummed with activity as hundreds of officers monitored the primitive planet they were about to claim. What do you make of these readings? Velnax asked his science officer, pushing a data pad across the smooth metallic surface between them. Science Officer Krulak studied the information, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Likely their primitive defenses powering up, he said with a dismissive click of his mandibles. Nothing concerning. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Velnax nodded, satisfied with this explanation. In his 200 years of service to the hegemony, he had overseen the conquest of 17 worlds. None had offered meaningful resistance. Some had tried to fight, usually the younger species who hadn't yet learned the futility of opposing the hegemony. Their struggles always ended the same way. Has Admiral Zexatral made contact with their leaders? He asked. Yes, Commander. He spoke with one of their military officials. As expected, they made empty threats before requesting time to consider our terms. Velnax made a sound that passed for laughter among his kind. They always do. Have we identified their planet's key defense installations? Yes, Commander. Their primitive satellites were easy to access. We have mapped all major military facilities, power plants, and government centers. Our first strike will disable their command capabilities within minutes. Good. Prepare the fleet for possible deployment. When their time expires, I want to be ready to demonstrate our power. As the hegemony forces positioned themselves for what they expected to be a simple show of force, followed by a quick surrender, they failed to notice something important. The humans weren't behaving like other species they had conquered. There was no panic, no frantic military movements, no desperate last-minute attempts at diplomacy. On Earth, Dr. Olivia Mason stood in a vast underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room around her contained no weapons in the traditional sense. No missiles, no gun batteries, no fighter craft. Instead, rows of quantum processors lined the walls, connected to a network that spread throughout the solar system. Status report, she said to her team of scientists and engineers. Protocol Omega is at 97% activation, replied her assistant, Paul Wright. His fingers moved rapidly across multiple screens. All orbital platforms are synchronized. The Jupiter and Saturn defense grids are online. Mason nodded, checking her own terminal. What the hegemony couldn't understand, was humanity's unique development path. While other species focused on building bigger ships with more powerful weapons, humans had been forced to innovate differently after nearly destroying themselves a century earlier. They expect us to fight the way they do, Mason said quietly. That's why we'll win. The quantum entanglement network that secretly connected every human settlement, from Earth to Mars to the mining colonies on Europa, hummed to life. Unlike conventional communications that the hegemony could easily intercept and jam, this network operated on principles that the aliens had never mastered. All stations report ready, Wright announced, waiting for the signal from Admiral Carter. Mason watched the countdown on her screen. The aliens had given Earth 24 hours. Admiral Carter would use every minute of that time to ensure all systems were prepared. Do you think they'll actually leave if we show them what we can do? Asked Wright. Mason shook her head. They've conquered 10,000 worlds, Paul. Their empire spans half the galaxy. They don't know how to back down. She looked up at the massive display showing the alien fleet. They had their chance to leave peacefully. Aboard the EDF Defiant, Admiral Carter received confirmation that Protocol Omega was fully activated. Earth's true defenses were ready. He turned to Lieutenant Reed, who stood at attention nearby. Open a channel to Admiral Zexitral, he ordered. The alien's face appeared on screen moments later. Your time is up, human. What is your answer? We decline your offer, Carter said simply. Earth will remain free. The alien commander's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. Then you choose the hard path. Remember, the destruction that follows is of your own making. Actually, Carter replied, I was about to say the same to you. You were warned to leave our system. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across the alien's features. You cannot seriously believe your primitive species can stand against the might of the hegemony. Carter allowed himself a small smile. We don't intend to stand against you. Admiral, we intend to show you why humans don't make threats. We only issue warnings. Once. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Initiate first phase. Throughout the solar system, devices that had appeared to be simple research stations or communication relays began to change. On Mars, massive hangar doors hidden beneath the red soil slid open. In the asteroid belt, mining operations transformed into weapons platforms. Even on Earth's moon, structures that had been disguised as scientific outposts revealed their true purpose. In the hegemony fleet, alarms began to sound. Commander, a junior officer called out with panic in his voice, we're detecting unusual energy signatures throughout the system. Velnax moved quickly to the main tactical display. Explain. The readings are impossible, the officer stammered. The energy levels are beyond anything in our database. Show me, Velnax demanded. The display changed to show Earth and its surrounding space. Where moments before there had been only a primitive defense network, now there were energy signatures blooming everywhere. From the planet's surface, from its moon, from Mars, from Jupiter's moons, even from what appeared to be empty space. How could we have missed this? Velnax whispered. Science Officer Krulak studied the readings with growing alarm. They concealed their true technology level. But this is impossible. No species develops this way. But humans had. After nearly destroying themselves in wars using conventional weapons, humanity had taken a different path. They didn't build massive fleets or planet-destroying bombs. Instead, they had learned to manipulate the fabric of reality itself. As the hegemony fleet moved into position for what they expected to be a simple occupation, their sensors detected nothing unusual until it was too late. Their arrogance had blinded them to the simple fact: humans didn't fight like other species. The first indication that something was very wrong came when 3 hegemony dreadnoughts simply vanished from space. No explosions, no debris, just gone in an instant. Impossible, Velnax roared as the tactical display showed 3 massive gaps in their formation. Scan the sector again. But the officer at the scanner could only shake his head in confusion. They're gone, Commander. And we're detecting more energy buildups throughout the system. Velnax realized too late that the humans had not been bluffing. They had issued one warning, and the Galactic Empire hadn't listened. Now they would. Learn why that had been a terrible mistake. Earth issued one warning. The Galactic Empire didn't listen on the bridge of the human ship Challenger, now cloaked by technology the hegemony couldn't detect. Captain Alan Rodriguez watched the confusion spread through the enemy fleet. His vessel was positioned less than 10 miles from the hegemony command ship, yet completely invisible to their sensors. Gravitational fold successful, Captain, his science officer, Dr. Diane Wells, reported. Her fingers danced across the control panel as data streamed in. The captured ships are being pulled into the fold space now. Our teams are ready to begin analysis. Rodriguez nodded, his expression calm despite the enormity of what they had just accomplished. 3 massive alien warships had been removed from normal space without firing a single conventional weapon. The vessels and their crews were intact, merely relocated. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. And patch me through to Admiral Carter. The main screen flickered to show the Admiral's face. Behind him, the bridge of the Defiant was a hive of coordinated activity. Phase 1 complete, sir, Rodriguez reported. The fold generators performed beyond expectations. The hegemony ships are contained in the Jupiter pocket dimension. Carter's serious expression broke into a slight smile. Excellent work, Captain. Their reaction? Complete confusion, sir. They're scanning wildly but finding nothing. Their formation is breaking down as ships attempt to avoid whatever happened. To the others. Perfect. All ships proceed with Phase 2. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden defenses activated. Not the conventional weapons the hegemony had expected, not missiles or laser arrays or fighter squadrons, but something far more dangerous: weaponized physics. Centuries earlier, when humans had nearly destroyed themselves in global wars, they had made a collective decision. Rather than building ever larger weapons, they would develop technologies that could control the fabric of reality itself. While other species focused on bigger ships and stronger armor, humans had quietly mastered quantum mechanics, gravity, manipulation, and dimensional engineering. The warning had been genuine. Humanity hadn't spent its resources building a fleet to match the hegemony. They'd been mastering the fundamental forces of the universe. In the asteroid belt, a small station that had appeared to be a simple mining operation now revealed its true purpose. The device inside generated a controlled quantum field that affected matter at its most basic level, causing atomic bonds to temporarily weaken. A wave of energy, invisible to normal sensors, rippled outward. As it passed through 5 hegemony cruisers, their hull plating simply lost cohesion. The metal didn't melt or explode, it simply fell apart into its component atoms. The ship's atmospheres vented instantly into space, leaving the vessels dead and drifting. Near Mars, another human installation activated. This one created a localized singularity, a tiny controlled black hole that appeared in the center of Io, a hegemony carrier group. 7 ships were caught in its gravitational pull, crushed beyond recognition before the singularity collapsed back into nothing, leaving only twisted debris behind. And perhaps most terrifying of all, the nanite swarms, deployed from Earth's lunar bases. Developed from humanity's deep understanding of microscopic systems, an evolution of what had once been called viruses and bacteria, these intelligent machines were too small to be detected by hegemony sensors. They attached themselves to enemy ship hulls, then burrowed inside, multiplying and spreading. Within minutes, they reached critical systems, reconfiguring alien technology from within. The first sign of their work came when 6 hegemony destroyers suddenly turned their weapons on their own fleet, their systems now under human control. On the hegemony command ship, panic had replaced confidence. Velnax struggled to make sense of the reports flooding in from all directions. "We've lost contact with the 3rd Battle Group," an officer shouted, "and the 7th Hunter Division is firing on our own ships." "How is this possible?" Velnax demanded. "Where are these attacks coming from?" Science Officer Krulax stared at his readings in disbelief. "Commander, these aren't conventional attacks. The humans are somehow manipulating reality itself. These energy signatures don't match anything in our records." "Impossible. No species developed such technology without first mastering basic space warfare." "The humans did," Krulax replied, his voice shaking. "They took a different path. While we built bigger ships and stronger weapons, they learned to control the forces that govern the universe." On the main screen, they watched as another group of their ships simply vanished, pulled into what the sensors identified as a localized spatial anomaly. "We need to retreat," Krulax urged. "We cannot fight an enemy that controls space itself." Velnax hesitated. In 2 centuries of service, he had never ordered a retreat. The hegemony did not retreat. They conquered. They ruled. They were the supreme power in the galaxy. But as he watched his mighty fleet being systematically dismantled by an enemy they couldn't even see, he realized they had made a terrible mistake. This primitive species was anything but primitive. "Order all remaining ships to fall back beyond this system's outer boundary," he commanded. Now, but the order came too late. As his communications officer attempted to relay the command, the ship's systems suddenly failed. Every screen went dark, then reactivated with unfamiliar symbols scrolling across them. "We're being taken over," Krulax said in horror. "Something is in our systems." A face appeared on the main screen, a human female wearing what appeared to be a scientific uniform rather than military garb. "This is Dr. Olivia Mason of Earth," she said calmly. "Your ship's systems are now under our control. Please remain calm. No harm will come to your crew if you cooperate." Velnax stood frozen, unable to comprehend how quickly their certain victory had turned to complete defeat. "How?" he finally managed to ask. "How did your species develop such technology without being noticed?" The human woman's expression remained neutral. "We learned long ago that true advancement doesn't come from building bigger weapons, but from deeper understanding of the universe itself. While your empire conquered through brute force, we studied the fabric of reality." On Earth, Admiral Carter received reports of the battle's progress. Within just 2 hours, over half the hegemony fleet had been neutralized. Some ships were captured intact, others were disabled. Some had been destroyed when they resisted too strongly. "Sir," Lieutenant Reed reported, "the remaining enemy vessels are attempting to flee the system." Carter considered this. The human forces could stop them all if they wished. Their fold generators and quantum disruptors could reach the edge of the solar system. Not a single alien ship would escape if he gave the order. But that wasn't the point of this demonstration. "Let some of them go," he ordered. "The hegemony needs survivors to carry our message back to their empire." "And what message is that, sir?" Reed asked. Carter turned to look at the tactical display, where the once mighty alien fleet was now in disarray. "The same one we gave them at the start," he said quietly. "Earth issues one warning. They chose not to listen. Now they understand why we only needed to warn them once." Earth issued one warning. The Galactic Empire didn't listen. The battle lasted less than 6 hours. In the great Imperial Palace on Zexatora, the hegemony's central administrative world, Empress Kavex received the impossible news. The mighty invasion, fleet that she had personally authorized to bring the insignificant blue planet into their empire, had been not just defeated but utterly dismantled. "This cannot be," she hissed, her clawed hands gripping the ornate throne. Around her, royal advisors and military commanders stood in stunned silence. "The report must be flawed." Grand Strategist Zelmach stepped forward, his normally confident posture now hunched with worry. "The report is accurate, Your Eminence. The survivors have confirmed it. The humans possess technology far beyond our understanding. They did not fight as we expected. How many ships returned? The Empress demanded. Selmak hesitated before answering. 17, Your Eminence, out of 342. The throne room fell silent. The hegemony had not suffered such a defeat in over 1,000 years. Send the second wave immediately, Kavex ordered, her voice rising with anger. Double the fleet size. They cannot stand against our full might. Her advisor stepped forward cautiously. Your Eminence, I must strongly advise against this action. The second wave has already been dispatched as per standard protocol when the first wave missed its check-in, but we've lost contact with those ships as well. The Empress rose from her throne, rage and disbelief warring on her features. Impossible. How could this primitive species— There's more, the advisor interrupted. A breach of protocol that showed the gravity of the situation. We're receiving reports of unknown vessels appearing in multiple systems throughout the Empire. They've bypassed all our defenses. On one such vessel, the EDF Retribution, Commander Nicole Foster addressed her crew. The ship had appeared in orbit around a hegemony military outpost in a system 50 light-years from Earth, a distance that should have been impossible to cross in mere hours. The hegemony gave us no choice, she told her crew as they prepared for their mission. Today we demonstrate why Earth's warning should have been heeded. The Retribution was one of 30 Earth ships deployed throughout hegemony space. Each carried the same quantum fold generators that had allowed them to essentially step outside normal space and reappear anywhere they chose. The technology made traditional concepts of distance meaningless. Target their weapons platforms only, Foster ordered. Minimal casualties. This is a demonstration, not a slaughter. Her weapons officer nodded, activating the ship's quantum disruptors. Beams of energy that could temporarily alter the atomic structure of matter shot out, precisely hitting the outpost's defense systems. Gun emplacements simply fell apart. Shield generators dissolved into their component atoms. Within minutes, the outpost was defenseless. Foster opened a channel to the hegemony commander. This is Commander Nicole Foster of Earth. Your defenses have been neutralized. We have no desire to harm your people. This demonstration is to show that we can reach any part of your empire at will. Throughout hegemony space, similar scenes played out. Human ships appeared without warning, neutralized military targets with surgical precision, and broadcast the same message. Earth wanted peace, but would not tolerate threats. Meanwhile, on Omai, conquered worlds across the galaxy, something else was happening. For decades, humans had quietly established a presence throughout the galaxy. Disguised as traders, diplomats, and observers, they had been assessing the hegemony while preparing for eventual contact. On Velnar, a world conquered by the hegemony, a century earlier, human agent Jack Miller removed his holographic disguise. For 5 years, he had posed as a member of the native species, gathering intelligence and building a network of allies among those who chafed under hegemony rule. It's time, he told the gathered resistance leaders. Earth has engaged the hegemony directly. We can now offer you what we promised: freedom. Similar scenes occurred on dozens of worlds. Human agents revealed themselves, offering liberation to oppressed species. They brought with them technology that could neutralize hegemony control, systems and weapons that could counter Imperial forces. Back on Earth, Dr. Mason monitored these developments from her command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. The quantum entanglement network allowed instant communication across any distance, another technology the hegemony had never developed. Phase 3 is proceeding as planned, she reported to Admiral Carter. Our embedded agents are active on 27 worlds. The hegemony's control systems are being neutralized. Carter nodded, studying the holographic display that showed activities across the galaxy. And the Empress? Has she responded to our message? Not yet. But her options are limited. Our ships have demonstrated they can reach her homeworld at any time. On Zexatora, the Imperial Palace was in chaos. Reports flooded in from across the Empire, human ships appearing and disappearing at will, military installations neutralized, without warning, and most disturbing of all, subject worlds rising up against their rulers. How is this happening? The Empress demanded. How could a single primitive world threaten our entire empire? Grand Strategist Zelmach had no answer. The hegemony had always believed their greatest strength was their ability to project military power across vast distances. No other species had been able to match their faster-than-light technology or their massive fleet numbers, but the humans had simply made those advantages irrelevant. They didn't need vast fleets when they could appear anywhere instantly. They didn't need massive weapons when they could manipulate matter at its most fundamental level. "Your Eminence," the royal communicator announced, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. They wish to speak directly with you." The Empress straightened her posture, trying to regain her composure. "Put it through." Admiral Carter's face appeared on the palace's central display. He wore no ornate uniform or symbols of rank, beyond a simple insignia. Nothing like the elaborate dress of hegemony commanders. "Empress Kavex," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I am Admiral William Carter of Earth." "You dare," the Empress began, but Carter continued speaking. "We did not seek this conflict. We issued one warning to your forces. They chose not to listen. Now we demonstrate why that warning was sufficient." "What do you want?" the Empress asked, her voice now subdued. "Peace," Carter replied, "but on equal terms. The days of your empire's unchecked expansion are over. Earth proposes a new relationship between our civilizations, and with all the worlds you've conquered." The message was clear. The hegemony's era of dominance had ended the moment they had ignored Earth's single warning. A new power had emerged in the galaxy, one that did not seek to conquer but would not be conquered, and they had only needed to warn once. Earth issued one warning. The Galactic Empire didn't listen 1 month after the first contact with the hegemony. Admiral William Carter stood before the newly formed Galactic Council. The massive circular chamber had been built on a neutral space, station orbiting a star at the edge of what had once been hegemony territory. Representatives from over 200 worlds filled the room, some former hegemony subjects, others independent species who had watched the conflict with great interest. Carter wore his formal uniform, but it remained simple compared to the elaborate dress of many alien representatives. At his side stood Dr. Olivia Mason and Keith Bennett, Earth's chief diplomat. "The people of Earth thank you for coming," Carter began, his voice carrying through the chamber. "1 month ago, most of us were strangers. Some of you lived under hegemony rule. Others feared you would be next. Today, we meet as equals." The chamber remained silent, all eyes fixed on the human who represented the species that had somehow defeated the supposedly invincible hegemony. "Humanity doesn't seek to replace one empire with another," he continued. "We propose a federation of equals, with each species maintaining their sovereignty while contributing to our collective defense and prosperity." A tall, slender alien with iridescent skin rose from the delegation representing former hegemony worlds. This was Ambassador Shinlor, once a high-ranking imperial official who had quickly adjusted to the new reality. "Admiral Carter," the alien said, voice smooth and measured, "your species has demonstrated power beyond anything we have seen in 10,000 years of galactic history. Why should we believe you won't simply become the new hegemony?" It was a fair question. In the audience, Keith Bennett watched the reactions spread through the gathered species. The once mighty hegemony representatives sat in a small section, their numbers reduced, their power broken. Around them, former subject worlds and independent species regarded the humans with a mixture of hope and suspicion. "Because conquest was never our goal," Carter replied. "When the hegemony threatened Earth, we defended ourselves. When we discovered how many worlds suffered under their rule, we offered assistance. Not because we sought power, but because we understand all too well what it means to fight for freedom." He gestured to the holographic display that appeared above the council floor, showing images of Earth's history, humans fighting each other in terrible wars, then slowly coming together. 500 years ago, humans were killing each other over resources, territory, and ideology. We nearly destroyed ourselves. From that near extinction, we learned that true power comes not from controlling others, but from cooperation and understanding. Dr. Mason stepped forward. The technology we used against the hegemony wasn't developed for war. Our quantum manipulation field was created to solve our energy crisis. Our dimensional fold drive was meant for peaceful exploration. She touched a control, and the hologram changed to show human scientists working alongside alien colleagues. Already, we're sharing our medical technology with 47 worlds. The quantum entanglement network that once connected only human settlements now links 15 former hegemony planets, not for control, but for communication and cooperation. In the audience, representatives from those worlds nodded. The humans had kept their word, freely sharing advancements that the hegemony had always hoarded. A reptilian delegate stood next. How can a federation function when power is so unbalanced? Your capabilities exceed those of all other known species combined. Keith. Bennett moved to the center of the platform. As Earth's chief diplomat, he had spent the past month shuttling between worlds, listening to concerns and building trust. Power imbalances exist in any relationship, he said. The question is how we account for them. That's why the proposed charter includes checks and balances that prevent any single species, including humans, from dominating. He brought up details of the proposed federation structure. Unlike the hegemony's hierarchical empire, this would be a true coalition with distributed authority. Each member world retains control of its internal affairs, Bennett explained. The Federation Council requires a 70% majority for any action affecting multiple worlds, and the science exchange ensures that technological advancements benefit all members, the delegates murmured among themselves. The concept was radical, nothing like the hegemony's iron-fisted rule or even the loose trade alliances that had existed in other parts of the galaxy. Ambassador Shinlor spoke again. And what of the hegemony itself? What happens to those who ruled us for so long? Admiral Carter turned to face the small group of former Imperial officials. They are welcome to join the Federation as equals, not as rulers. Their worlds, their people, their knowledge all have value, but their days of conquest are over. The hegemony representatives shifted uncomfortably. Some looked angry, others resigned. Their empire had stood for 10,000 years, only to fall in a single day because they had ignored a warning from a supposedly primitive world. After the formal session, Dr. Mason joined Carter in a private observation room overlooking the star field. The quantum network is being adapted for peaceful communication between all member worlds, she reported. And the nanite technology is being repurposed for environmental restoration on planets the hegemony stripped bare. Carter nodded, looking out at the stars visible through the vast windows. They thought our warning was empty pride. They never considered that a species that survived its own violent tendencies might have learned something valuable in the process. Do you think it will work? Mason asked. This federation? It has to, Carter replied. The alternative is to become what we fought against. Beyond the window, ships from a dozen worlds moved through space, working together to expand the station that would serve as the Federation's headquarters. Human vessels with their distinctive fold space drives worked alongside the massive carriers of former hegemony worlds and the sleek, organic ships of the Outer Rim species. As representatives from 100 worlds debated the structure of their new alliance, the truth became evident. Earth had issued one warning not out of arrogance, but because humans knew that true power lay not in conquest, but in the strength to show restraint until it became impossible. The Galactic Empire hadn't listened. Now, in its place, something better would grow.